New signs. The Republican Party could splinter, as the Associated Press asking all Republican senators and governors if they would commit to backing Donald Trump as the GOP nominee. Well, nearly half refusing to say yes. And earlier, Trump was on Fox and Friends responding to Marco Rubio being the establishment's guy.
The GOP elites, he's their guy.
Well, maybe the establishment has to get out too, Steve. I don't know. When you look at what's going on, they've lost 2 elections in a row, big ones. And the last one with Mitt Romney should have been won easily.
Simon Rosenberg, president and founder of the New Democrat Network and a former Bill Clinton campaign advisor, is here, and Larry O'Connor hosts Mornings on the Mall on WAMAL. You might be in it too, Larry. I don't know.
I am.
Both, right?
I live there.
You're also
yes.
editor-at-large for Independent Journal. I've seen you in studio there. You do spend a lot of time. But it's convenient for you. I know that. Okay, let's talk about this idea of the Republican Party supposedly splitting if Trump is the nominee, and the fact that these senators and governors on the GOP side, Larry, were asked, if they would support him, and it was, sort of murky.
Yeah, listen, if the Republican voters out there are like me, they're pretty confused and frankly frustrated. 6 months ago, these same geniuses were wringing their hands about the idea that Donald Trump won't support the Republican nominee. Now it looks like he might be the nominee, and these guys are looking to bail. A quick, brief history lesson. Mitt Romney lost, John McCain lost, George W. Bush barely won the White House, but he lost the House and the Senate. Bob Dole lost, George Herbert Walker Bush lost. Maybe these guys don't have all the answers. Just a thought.
Okay, let's listen to what Trump has to say about this.
Are you worried that you may split the party and make it harder to defeat the Democrats in November?
No, I think it's just the opposite. I've had tremendous calls from tremendous establishment people and non-establishment people, and the party's going to get bigger.
All right, so Simon, are the Democrats just, like relishing this moment, this idea that the GOP is in turmoil and they might splinter apart?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a lot to add to this one, Gretchen, but I will say, look, I was surprised. I was really surprised, as Larry was, that so many elected officials were unwilling to even answer the question. I mean, this is a competitive race. I mean, he's winning fair and square. He's not cheating. There's no question of him, cooking the books or anyway. I mean, he's going out in front of Republican voters, and he's been crushing a very talented field. And so it's a little disingenuous, I agree with Larry, for these leaders of the Republican Party to turn around and say, well, we don't like the results of what our own voters are telling us. Maybe it shows how disconnected they really are from their own folks.
I mean, Larry, you brought up a fantastic point. We covered it live here on the show when Trump signed that document saying that he would support. It was a big, huge deal for him. So interesting point to bring up. Let's talk about this now. Manchester Union Leader newspaper, influential in New Hampshire, expressing now regret over its early endorsement of Chris Christie now that he's dropped out and is backing Trump. Here's what the publisher wrote today. Boy, were we wrong. Rather than standing up to the bully, Christie bent his knee. Larry?
Yeah, well, listen, I guess they're influential, but not when it comes to endorsing a Republican candidate for the primary. Did you know that they've only been correct twice since Reagan? And only with Reagan did they actually predict the eventual President of the United States. So, I don't know. Over on the Democrat side, you've got a woman who represents 30 years in Washington, D.C. with no accomplishments at all, and this is a change election.
Okay.
So, I'd rather be sitting where we are right now than where the Manchester Union Leader is or where Simon Rosenberg is.
What do you make about that, Simon?
Listen, I think every Democrat knows this is going to be a competitive race. I don't think anybody's taking it for granted. Certainly, in Clinton world, they didn't see Bernie Sanders coming, and I think that experience of being caught unaware has made them is going to make them far more aggressive about not underestimating Donald Trump, because it certainly looks like he's going to be the nominee. Democrats are aware that Trump is unorthodox. I don't think there's any arrogance here. We know he's going to be a tough candidate. I think we're gearing up for what will be a tough and competitive election.
Yep, we're going to talk about that a little later in the show, really narrow in on that Clinton-Trump possible matchup. Simon and Larry, thank you.
Sure.